I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Sarah Pidgeon, who stars in the Hulu limited series Tiny Beautiful Things. Sarah, in the final moments of the series, present day Claire says the best thing you can do with your life is to tackle the mother effing shit out of love. How do you interpret that?
I'm sort of in this, I'm in my mid 20s right now, and I think that there's a lot coming. It feels like there's so much coming at you, and everything feels so precious, and that each decision I make is like do or die. And I think that can sometimes lead me to a place that's it can like arrest you in a way. And I think this idea that the series leaves you in that moment is like, why don't let it stop you, let it throw you forward. Um, that this idea of moving towards the things that are good, the people that love you, the experiences that you love, and make you feel alive. I think at the end of the day, that rarely brings about something negative. And in this experience, love in particular with her relationship with her mother, it is something that is there are parts of that are traumatic and hard to stomach, but I think overall it is this like incredibly beautiful thing that has made her who she is and has propelled her through this life. And while those haven't always been overwhelmingly positive experiences, I think for Claire, and I think we can all say that as well, um, if it's fueled by love and fueled by something good, then I think it's harder to write off as a mistake or a misstep.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I had a similar reaction because as messy as life can be, which is so beautifully demonstrated in this show, love kind of can anchor you in a way. And I remember when I was in my 20s, it was, as you say, really like that, and things are propelling so fast. And I mean, it doesn't really improve in your 30s and your 40s.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of probably gets worse. But yeah, love and family is the thing, hopefully, that can kind of anchor you and center you and ground you. And speaking of grounding, that's what I loved so much about Tiny Beautiful Things, because tonally it's a comedy, it's a drama, but it is so grounded in something that I felt very lived in. And I'm wondering if that was a big part of pre-production when you're preparing for the role and you're with the cast and crew. Was that really ever part of the conversation to make sure that this felt real and grounded?
Yeah, we had some workshops with someone named Kim Gillingham, and she sort of brought up, I don't really know how to describe it. It's a lot of using your own imagination and your personal experiences and sort of marrying that with the character's experience. And I think by doing these group workshops, it allowed us all to understand and tap into this tone, which is at the end of the day, I think the first workshop, Kim said, bring your messy, broken heart to this. And I think by, it's not a manicured show. There's every one of these characters is deeply flawed and at moments is unlikable. And I think by not being afraid of that, and the production and our incredible showrunner Liz Tigelaar and Cheryl's work in general is all about bringing the sort of like frayed ends of yourself to something, and that's what grounds it because that's what's real. um so I think being able to do those workshops throughout the process as well was something that really grounded the work and grounded myself in the world and helped me find the similarities and differences in Claire, so that she could feel like a fully formed human being. And I felt like it was easier to sort of navigate these huge moments in her life, which are on display in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you're playing younger Claire. Kathryn Hahn is playing present day Claire. And I read that you had had conversations with Kathryn about who Claire is and how her heart beats. I love how you said that. I think it's really cool. Talk me through some of those discussions and how you both navigated that together.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the workshops, I think we were able to find some physical similarities. And there were times, and we don't share a lot of screen time together, obviously,
Yeah.
because one's the present, one's the past. But I think something that was really impactful was we would sort of cross over each other in the parking lot or on our ways to our trailers. And sometimes I would just say like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I'm feeling. Like I feel like a live wire. And, being able to talk through that together and understand that that's the work, like that is where Claire is. That is how she feels moving through these life experiences. And I think it was so refreshing to feel comforted by that acknowledgement of Kathryn and feel like, oh, that's another space that these people live in. And I think also understanding that, these events take place. I play her 18 to like 30,
Mm.
and that Kathryn is also the sum of these parts, and that there can be, variation from when she's in her 20s to when she's, 49. And I think in some ways, when I first went into this, I was really intimidated, because it's like, how do you play, how do you play the same character that someone else is playing? Because I can't hand Kathryn my script and watch her do the scene and vice versa. And I feel like by recognizing that there could be difference, we've somehow found the similarity. Like it wasn't forced. I think we both trusted the writing a lot as well. It's there. These people speak the same way. They get ticked off by the same things. There's, there's the same things that make them melt. So I think we were really lucky with such a beautifully written show that had such clear through lines of these people, despite years in between them. And having someone, to be our number one, and that is Kathryn Hahn. She's so open and so generous and was just always there to have a conversation. And she brought herself to this role so much. So I think it allowed everyone else to do the same.
I just say thank God that the two of you didn't have to feel like you had to mimic each other or replicate this person, because that would have felt so boring and so like we've seen that before. Like this, you could tell that you were playing the same character. There were moments where I was like, you do a slight inflection, or Kathryn would say would kind of fall apart in a way that you had done a previous episode. That is what made it feel real, because I am not like I was in my 20s, and you're not going to be like you are when you're in your 50s. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I love that. And how good is the final moments in the series when the two timelines are just so interspersed, and it literally from heartbeat to heartbeat, we're seeing you, we're seeing her, we're seeing Merritt Wever in the bed. What did you think of the way this series finished?
I thought it was beautiful. I mean, I thought it was such a great representation of that. Like we bring all of these versions of ourselves to the moment that we are existing in, and we're some of all of our parts. And I think that scene that Claire has with Lucas, I think it's probably maybe like the second or third to final scene before they're in, Kathryn and Merritt are in the field together, and Tanzan. But Lucas says, you have to get her off this pedestal. You think that she's this perfect person when she's not. And I just thought like, oh, there's the pin. Like I think there may be I mean, Kathryn can probably talk more about this, but I think there's a reason that final scene happens in the field when she finally disconnects, her mother, and sort of is able to not get over this grief, but say goodbye in a way that she hasn't, I think, before. I think that this show is depicting a person who has tried to put their grief to almost simplify it, I think, in a way. And that's why it's been so impossible to get over. Because the more she tries to push it in this box and tries to distract herself, or tries to she gets married young. Granted, that's before her mother passes, but she tries to do all of these things, I think, because she's trying to distract herself from everything that her mother was, and see her in a way, which is why it's impossible for her to say goodbye until I think her brother says that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what your experience is with grief or loss, but I've had my own, and we all will,
Mhm.
if you haven't yet. And I think that it's always terrible to watch. I don't particularly enjoy watching myself, but watching it back, I just thought, yeah, this is it. It's compounds, and it can constrict you, and it can like explode you. And I think that final moment is a perfect representation of that, along with so many other beautiful moments that are written in this script. Yeah, just
I know, it can be so, grief can be so corrosive, but once you are able to find that way forward, it is quite freeing. And I think this show does a beautiful job. It's so universal. Her volatility and her self-destructive behavior, a lot of us watching will see ourselves in that, and we'll see our family members and loved ones in that too. So I'm curious then, apart from the workshops and conversations you're having, what do you do internally when you're preparing for typical days, like, where you really have to fly off the handle, or where you are in tears for half the day? What do you have to do to get to really go for it?
yeah. I mean, I feel like this is. I mean, I feel like it's probably quite common. Like you read the script and you sort of know, like, oh, that's the big one in this episode. That's that one. That scene makes me nervous. Am I going to be able to deliver? And I think, I mean, depending on the shooting schedule, I would prefer to sort of, start on some other scenes that I don't necessarily put that pressure on myself, and then suddenly, the day is there and I haven't been stressing over it. But I think when that day does arrive, I know that there are some things in my life that I draw upon, and they aren't events or memories that we can all name them, of things that we necessarily want to experience in our daily lives, or at least have them catch us off guard. Um, Usually those emotions are experienced in private, and um, I would have to tap into things that are devastating to me. And I think it's always surprising, no matter how much time has passed, how potent those feelings are.
Yeah.
Um, and then we would do the scene, and then you get directed, and you're using this, and it's like all of this. I imagine it like the emotion is like a rushing river, and then the director is just like sort of showing you the bends in the river, and there's a rock there, and your canoe broke, and that they're just sort of adding all of these different things to this emotion. And we had incredible directors, so I think a lot of times it felt successful. I don't love that word. It was what it needed to be, I suppose. And at the end of the day, I would take my makeup off and take my costume off and go home, and I think I would tell myself that it was work. And it wasn't really until I was a few weeks, I think, out of the job that I realized, I was in the headspace of someone who was grieving a lot, and maneuvering her 20s in this, not having her person.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways it helped me, it was therapeutic. Um, and it was another reminder that these people are incredibly important and impactful, no matter how long they're gone in your life. And um, and we'll see what happens when the next time I use that, what the next job will be. But yeah, I think stepping away from this job, it's just realizing, almost taking that pressure off myself when you read that script of like, oh God, is it going to be there?
Yeah.
It's like it's who you are, Sarah. These things, these emotions live in you, and sometimes they're louder than others. But uh, it'll be there if it needs to be. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, that's my prep. That's my prep for the next one.
And I think that, that's probably what you've learned about yourself creatively. You're still, a relatively young in your career. You have so much more to come, and you will take that with you on all your projects going forward. And that is a real gift. Like, I hear from actors a lot that they take their makeup off, they go home, they go to bed, everything's cool, but weeks later, their bodies have been holding this stuff without even realizing it. And you will,
Mhm.
that's so interesting to me. And I'm thinking particularly of the scene where young Claire, is at the hospital and her mother's passed away, and so she races into the room. And I couldn't believe that the choice was made. It's so perfect that we just watch Owen's face react to your howling in the other room. That really got me, because I don't know why, but I just felt it was perfect. What did you think of that choice?
I mean, I think that what's what's so beautiful and perfect about that is because you see the ripples of this event in the family. And in particular for Owen's character Lucas, he's removed himself. He doesn't want to watch mom. And then he's suddenly face to face with it.
Yeah.
There's no escaping this. And it's not just his mother's passing, but then his sister's blame.
Yeah.
That's like so it's so layered. Yeah, I thought it was a perfect choice. That's what it is.
Yeah. Amazing. Sarah, we could talk all day. Congratulations on some really beautiful work in this show, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Robert. It was so nice to meet you.